So, I've said, and this is just so. This is just so petty. But I think it's a sign, definitely, of things to come. Of what especially this government is going to do, especially not for probably for the rest of this year, but probably for the rest of its tenure. And if you haven't heard, or in case seen below, there is a diplomatic row breaking out, and it is over something so petty, so petty. But this is what our government is now reduced to. Um, Essentially, today we got word that the UK is not going to recognise the EU ambassadors and give them the same status as other ambassadors. It just boggles belief. Why on earth are you doing this? This is just so petty on so many levels. And here's the thing: if this escalates, I hope it doesn't, but if this escalates, all the EU have to do, and all the other EU countries, because this is what we're talking about, just have to go, okay, we're not going to recognise your ambassadors. And that would mean all of the British ambassadors throughout Europe instantly don't get recognised. Boom, like that. And that affects us far worse. So that's only if it escalates, but that's the level of pettiness that our government is seeing to potentially willing to escalate to that level for not doing this. This is absolutely ridiculous for them doing this. But before we jump into that article today, please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below there was a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link. And thank you very much to the people who do support me that way. So, this comes from the BBC. And like I say, this is just so petty. There's just no reason to do it. So this comes from BBC on the news site, and it is UK and EU in row over bloc's diplomatic status. The UK is refusing to give Jahovel di Amelia, I think that's how you say it, the full diplomatic status that is granted to other ambassadors. The Foreign Office is insisting he and his officials should not have the privileges and immunities afforded to diplomats under the Vienna Convention. It is understood not to want to set a precedent by treating an international body in the same way as a nation state. As it stands, the ambassador would not have the choice to present his credentials to the Queen like other diplomatic heads of mission. The British decision is in marked contrast to the 142 other countries around the world where the EU has delegations and where its ambassadors are granted all the same rights as diplomats representing sovereign nations. I just do not understand why they are doing this. I think it's just an attempt to appear hard on the EU. I genuinely think this is where the government are doing this, and this is just such a petty move. You are trying to antagonise our biggest trading partner, and that is not going to go away anytime soon. And I don't know if they're trying to think that they can somehow gain leverage by if they get a chance to go back to the negotiating table, or they can say, oh yeah, we'll recognise your ambassadors if you give us this. And it's like, no, every other country in the world does this. And their excuse for not wanting to set a precedent is already ridiculous because, as we just said there, 142 different countries already recognise the EU as a diplomatic entity. I genuinely don't know what is being played at this, but it's just so petty. So anyway, it continues. Joseph Borrell The EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs has written to the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab to express his serious concerns. The issue is expected to be discussed by the EU foreign ministers next Monday, when they meet for the first time since the post-Brexit transition period ended on the 31st of December. The Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office wants to treat the EU and the delegation only as representatives of an international organisation. This means EU diplomats would not have the full protection of the Vienna Convention, giving them immunity from detention, criminal jurisdiction and taxation. The rights given to staff of international organisations are more ad hoc and less fixed. The EU argues it is not a typical international organisation because it has its own currency, judicial systems and the power to make laws. In this letter to Mr. Raab last November, seen by the BBC, Mr. Borrell says, Your services have sent us draft proposals for an establishment agreement which we have serious concerns. The agreements offered do not reflect the specific character of the EU, nor do they respond to the future relationship between the EU and the UK as an important third country. It would not grant the customary privileges and immunities of the delegation and its staff, and proposals do not constitute a reasonable bias for reaching an agreement. And EU officials have privately accused the Foreign Office of hypocrisy because the EU's Foreign Service, known as the External Action Service, was set up in 2010 as a result of the Lisbon Treaty the UK signed, up to proposals that the EU diplomats be granted the privileges and immunities equivalent to those referred to in the Vienna Convention in the Diplomatic Relations Act signed on the 18th of April 1961. One EU source said, It seems pretty petty. This is not about privileges, it's about principle. What does this say about the UK, about how much the British signature is worth? Some in the EU also fear hostile states might copy the UK and downgrade the protections granted to EU diplomats in their own countries. This could open them up to being harassed and make them easier for them to be expelled. An EU Commissioner spokesperson said, The UK is a signatory to the Lisbon Treaty. It is well aware of the EU's status in external relations. It was cognizant and supportive of this status while it was a member of the EU. The EU has 143 delegations equivalent to diplomatic missions around the world, and without exceptions, all host states have accepted and guaranteed these delegations and their status as equivalent of the diplomatic missions sent under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, and the UK is fully aware of this fact. He added, Nothing has changed since the UK's exit from the European Union to justify any change in stance on the UK's part. The UK's status as an external relations and its subsequent diplomatic status is amply recognised by countries and international organisations around the world, and we expect the United Kingdom to treat the EU delegations accordingly and without delay. A Foreign Office spokesperson said, Engagement continues with the EU on long-term arrangements for EU delegations in the UK, and while discussions are still ongoing, it would not be appropriate for us to speculate on the detail of an eventual agreement. It's petty. It's so petty in such a ridiculous way, because this just doesn't make any sense to do this. It just... I genuinely don't know what to say, but it's just so petty. But I can guarantee you this is probably not the first thing the government is going to do, because I can guarantee they're going to do so many petty things to try and, do like a one-upmanship on the EU, and they're going to try and find ways to say, oh, we're somehow better or whatever. They're going to try and really push the boundaries, especially in the trade agreement, especially in the areas of the regulation, because we know the Tories are desperate in any way, shape they can to try and get deregulation through. And I suspect this is just the first wave of the absolute pissing match, I suppose, that the UK is now going to play against the EU, and it just makes us look ridiculous. It really, really does. There you go. That's how Boris Johnson and his government are going to act, probably for the next couple of years, especially to the EU. And I'll tell you this, it just doesn't make any friends. And I now have to be worried that possibly next year, in 2022, very likely, if Boris is still in, that is, that Boris and the Brexiteers are going to make a concerted effort to try and pull the plug on the agreement that we spent a year trying to sign. That is a very real possibility, and them engaging in this diplomatic tit for not even tit for tat, because the EU is just like, why are you doing this? It just doesn't make sense. So, you know, but that's how the UK is going to treat the EU, and don't expect to make any friends of our big trading partners in this, because it doesn't make sense. Because I guarantee you, all the other countries in the EU are just like, what are they doing? You know, what are they doing? But as always, thanks for watching, and I just yeah, exactly. So, as always, thanks for watching. Please do remember to hit the like and share button on the way out. And, of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link. And thank you very much for all those people who do support me that way. And, as always, we'll see you all next time.